would not be any, so-called Gyan session. Good. You need that? Am I audible, ma'am?
Yes.
Do I really need this?
Yeah,
Huh?
I'm recording it. So you record that.
Hello. मेरे को सिंगर बना दिया. Okay. I will just share my experience and the way whatever challenges was put up to me by the life I handled. What would be your takeaway from this session? So what would be your takeaway from the session? What do you see in this? Yes, ma'am. What did you see?
Skull.
Yes, ma'am.
With something becoming small, something bad becoming small.
Sir, in the white.
Skull.
Skull. How many have actually seen skull? If you can please. No? There in the picture.
Okay. I saw a lady.
Yeah. Now see it again.
Oh.
See it again. Now what can you see? Is there any lady sitting here?
Yeah.
This is actually a vanity mirror. Right? That precisely is the difference. Perception. So by the time you will walk out of this hall, my idea is to share the way you may look at life also. Whatever you brood upon, actually you only see that. And initial thing, as all of you have seen, most of the time is negative. You saw skull. Good morning to you. Okay. So the journey which I actually, traveled through to reach up to the level started off way back when I was a young kid. You can see the fear on my face even in this picture. When I was a small kid, I was actually never with my parents. I stayed away because of various reasons, including the financial reason. So my childhood was actually very not so fairy tale type, not at all pampered, full of strictness and lot of such things which actually keeps you under pressure. So when I was, I guess in 7th standard or so, I came under so much of pressure that I ran away from the home. I could not go but far, right? I could reach only to the verge of my city limits, that when my inner conscious shook me up and it asked me a question: what exactly are you going to do? If you run away today from the reality, either you would be cleaning some utensils somewhere, or you would be with anyone of a truck driver helping him out. Is that the reality you wish to look forward in your future? No. So I came back. I said, let me fight it out and prove the world what I am. I am not a loser. This is what I learned. Fighters discover their potential in the odds. It is only losers who look for support. That was my first lesson. I carried on. I was fortunate enough that I got in touch. I'm basically sick. right? I got in touch with my religion, and it was very flourishing movement or days of the local gurdwaras which I used to visit during that period. And whatever teachings I learned, if any one of you are somewhat familiar with the Sikh history, it is actually full of martyrdom, sacrifice, and nothing else. These are the stories which I learned from there. That's how perhaps the inclination towards army, came. And I made up my mind that I have to stay here, fight it out, and prove to the world, to the people who are questioning that what am I, that I am something. One thing another which I was, which perhaps you also must have heard a lot of time, that whatever happens in life happens for good, right? I carried on, and this phrase actually came up in my life to think over it. When I was in 11th standard, I failed. The result was Devinder Pal Singh failed. Now imagine a situation of a kid, small kid, who was actually already under so much of a pressure, questions, doubts, and then he fails. What he might be thinking. But then the phrase that whatever happens, happens for good kept me on to think that what exactly is good in failing. But if you keep your eyes and conscious open, sometime it takes lot of time to find the exact answer, but sometime you get the answer very soon. And I got the answer by the time the next session was about to get over. All of you have passed boards, so you know that there is a board preparatory leave just before the board. That leave was going on for my past batch, the batch which I left, and nobody was coming to the school. I was still coming. It was winters, and one day while playing, in the playground, our school was something like, there's a building in between, one side there's a playground, other side there's a mango grove. I was playing during the recess in the playground side, right? Suddenly I don't know what happened to my mind. I left the game and I came towards the mango grove side. I saw it was pin drop silence. So I thought maybe, time is over, recess is over, I am the only one, most of the time I was the only one out, late to reach in the class. I thought maybe something similar is happening. But then, suddenly, a small child, crying, howling, was walking towards me like this. Somebody had actually fiddled a beehive in that mango grove, and all the bees were on that child. Second standard, small girl, child, like a beehive, walking towards you. Have you ever been bitten by a bee? Sir, how painful is that? Imagine. And that too on a small child. I could not think of anything else. I ran toward that kid, took off my pullover, threw over her, picked her up and ran toward the school. By the time, one guy was already ready with the bike there, they took her to the hospital. Later, we came to know that had she been late by even 5-7 minutes more, she would have died. I got my answer. Perhaps that was supposed to be done by me. That is why I failed. How costly it was for me? I don't think it was. I could save one kid. Right? Added advantage, freebies with that the next batch which I was in was actually very good. So as of today, none of the student of that batch is not who is either a doctor, engineer or an army officer. But the previous batch, I need to actually find out that who's doing good in that. That's the freebies. Right? So I carried on, and the idea of doing something And doing something is only one thing. Wearing olive green. Nothing else. By the way, I studied in Roorkee. So if anyone of you is familiar with the place Roorkee, it is now famous. Earlier it was Roorkee University, now it is being converted into IIT. 95% of the student of that place actually sometime even leave 1 year to prepare for engineering entrance. I was the only person who never even attempted that. My funda was clear, my ideas were clear. If I had to do something, I had only one option in front of me. That is to wear olive green. And it did not take me much. First time when I cleared my written examination, I went for the SSB, overconfident, came back empty hand, right? But I did not leave it there. And in 1997, I could don the Indian Army dress. So that leaves on one point. Options actually leads to confusions. If your idea is clear, your aim is clear in life, nobody can stop you to achieve that. Keep your aim clear. What do you actually have to do? Nobody can dare stop you to reach at that level. It may take time. It takes time. With me, it is still taking time, whatever I am thinking now to do. But nobody can dare stop me. If anybody can stop you, can you answer who can stop you?
Yes, sir.
It's you only. It's only you. Nobody can dare interfere in your life if you do not wish to do that. Anyway, on top of the world, I have achieved something. People who used to question me now are praising me. Right? I have achieved whatever I wish to. And I plan 10 years ahead. 10 years of army life. I will do this. I will go to the field. Insurgency was on during those days. Then my unit will come back and I'll go to Siachen. Then my unit will be in field. I'll be again in field. Then I'll come to NSG, National Security Guard Commandos. 10 years will be over. So this was my plan. But God wanted something else. And 1997 December I got commissioned. 1 year over in courses and all, initial courses. 1990 to take part in any action if it is required to safeguard your motherland. And I proudly say that I was one of the fortunate ones. In the initial period of my service only, I could take part in the war. That was Kargil War. 1999? All of you are aware about that?
Yeah.
Okay. Switching over to the Kargil War side, now I'll give you a little perspective that what exactly was going on in that war. How many of you were actually working that time, or most of you must be, right? Most of you must be working that time. So, the living conditions which you were into, and the living conditions which actually the fighters were, the army was, I don't know whether you can imagine or not, but I'll try to give you a perspective that what exactly, is the life which they undergo when they are in some such strict conditions. These are the cozy homes which they have. This is the bunker. This is the bunker. Can you see? Can you see the men sitting there? So they don't have, controlled temperature type of atmosphere. If they are controlling something, it is with their warm clothes. These are the cushioned beds which they had. If they get time to sleep, then the beds available are like this. These are the 6-lane roads on which they can, give orders. Okay, 1 chicken burger and 1 ham on this address. Yes, sir, will be delivered in half an hour. Right? Can you see the link? This is the way the things were being pushed into in that area. Imagine if another gadi is coming from the other side, whole day will go. These are the tar tracks. This is actually route to Kaluvar, which was supposed to be taken to carry out one raid. Did you ever imagine such things? And this is the Olympic arena where they had to sprint the last stretch to actually charge on the enemy to move them out from that bunker and take control of that. You can read this. This was a life they were into, but they were not bothered about all those challenges. They were more bothered about these challenges which were there in front of them. What were these challenges? The dynamic situation and change of role, that was the period when insurgency, militancy was on high. Actually, army is being trained for a conventional war, and conventional war is something across the border. Right? Enemy is that side, I am this side, I need to fight it out. How is the what? The training is being given all across in the army. But when you are in insurgency or militancy type of a atmosphere, that training is of no use. Then you don't know the person who's sitting out there is a Fauji or a militant, and from which side he will attack. And if you retaliate, there are civilians. So the question of human rights comes up. This is the challenge. Resources. The fight was on hills, right? When you are actually in the defensive positions, you are only holding the ground. You need not to worry about your strength, that what exactly number of people are there on the ground. But when it is an offensive situation, the teaching says, in the hilly area of offensive situation, the ratio is 1 to 9. If there is one enemy, you need 9 people to take charge of that area. He is already sitting in that controlled area. Uncertainty of orders. Uncertainty of order means nobody was aware actually the Kargil is a infiltration of a small nature, or actually so much of enemy sitting on that area. Initial situation reports, SITRUPs we call it, were actually giving, okay, few infiltrators have taken charge of that area. And that's how the first patrol which was sent there, led by Captain Saurabh Kalia, God bless his soul, if you know about him, he did not come back. His body butchered came back. Eyes was removed by the pincers. Ears were punctured by making holes there. All bones crumpled. I can't give you the narration of that. Go back on Google and read yourself what exactly has happened with them. Why? Nobody was aware. Enemy will not come and tell you, sir, this is the invitation for the war and I am so much in number, you please prepare and let's fight. So when the uncertainty is there, uncertainty is not only for me who's sitting on the ground, but for the person who's sitting up there strategizing. The leaders, the government, none of them are aware. So when the information is less, how can you strategize? How can you plan? Does that mean you leave? Leave it to the, fate, dekha jayega. No. That is where That is where the team comes up. That is where the role of different verticals, as we call it in corporate language, of army comes up. Time was at premium because it was a sudden thing. It was not a planned war. Now you can question the army is actually supposed to be ready for that. Yes, we are supposed to be ready for that, and that is how we could win. We are actually being trained that if in case you come into such situation, how to take control of that. And let me tell you, initially it is a total ruckus and chaos. Total chaos. And that is where your leadership comes up. That is where your control comes up. And that is where that team thing comes up. And how do we need to handle it? And that is where your confidence comes up. And that is the time when the individuals can go up to the extent that they lay their life. Time was at such a premium. If you lose any single moment, you may lose in proportion to 10 lives or even more. It was not a affair of losing a product or something. It was life and death. Either you are there or you are not there. No choice. And the biggest uncertainty was political. UN Charter does not allow us to cross the line of control. If in case you are on international border, you can actually fight it out the way you wish. Given a chance, given a free hand to army, we would have gone from the rear side, cut them off without the number of losses of life which we had now. But हमको देखना है कि हमारे पड़ोस में जो हमारे भाई हैं उनको हम कैसे रख सकते हैं. The UN Charter does not allow us to cross the line of control. That's a breach. You were supposed to go from the front only and take on the enemy. How many of you have gone to hills? All of you must have gone to hills. You know it? Madam, you are missing something in your life. You must visit, right? You go on the hills, stand on top. Or for that matter, after the session you may go and stand on the roof and see the area you can observe and cover. And then come down and see how much area you can observe and cover. That is the control. Enemy was already dominating there. Taken control of the area, right? In that situation, you were supposed to actually not go from the rear, but take charge from the front itself. Foolishness, rear foolishness. You are fully aware that you will lose your life. Will you do? If given a chance, will you be able to take such decision? Yes, sir. Anybody? Will you be able to take such decision? Nobody will take that decision. That is where that Junoon thing comes up. Nobody dare should look towards my motherland. I'll break his finger. If that Junoon is there in you, nobody should dare look towards my family. I can do anything. If that is not there in you, I'm sorry to say, you can't do anything. Because in every moment you will get fear. And Gabbar Singh का dialogue मजा है ना देखो, जो डर गया सो मर गया. Well, in spite of all those challenges, you are aware about the result. Every one of you sitting in this room is aware that we were winners. Though, in my opinion, actually nobody wins in the war. You see? This is what? Coffins. But army is perhaps the only organization who see limb is being lost, body is dead, but I have to concentrate on my goal. Nobody should dare look towards my motherland. So we were victorious. But do you think that victory came just like that? As an individual, I had so much of, passion, that courage in me that I'll go and fight it out. Is it so simple? A company, a profession, anything. What matters is this. Let me give you a perspective how actually army functions. The verticals I was talking about. Infantry, Paidal Sena, is the arm which is supposed to go and attack like this. All these people are infantryans. This is a 13 jack rifle. Paramveer Chakra Vikram Batra, you heard his name?
Yes.
That person was my coachmate. We did training together. He was from this Paltan. Right? Infantry takes control of the ground. Before that, lot many actions are happening. The last action which is being done by infantry, before that, artillery comes into action. Artillery is Topkhana. You've seen Bofors? Everybody heard about Bofors? That's artillery. They are supposed to fire from very long distance in the enemy area. They did not go and find out, okay, अच्छा वहाँ पे बैठा है, मैं यहाँ पे fire करूँगा. It's not like that. It's on maps. They find the grid of that area where exactly the information is there that enemy is sitting, and they bombard. Because that area, if for example they went for this point 4875, so artillery will actually bombard this area, general area, and it is so fine-tuned that I am fully aware that I am going to enter in the area where bombardment is happening. But it is so fine-tuned that RT guy is fully aware that at this hour my infantry will venture in, so I have to stop. I have to stop there. That is the type of faith and trust which is there on the team. None of them have ever met. Might not meet ever in their life. But this is the type of collaboration, synchronization. Because their tasks might be different, but their goal is same. Only single goal, like you might be having. Intuit is a new company, but by this time, I want to see my company in the top 10. If this is your goal, this is the goal of every one of you sitting here, right? But task of each one of you is different. Somebody might be from marketing, somebody might be from legal, somebody might be from some other department. You know that this is supposed to be done by me. Now if you imagine that artillery guy who is actually doing bombardment creates little bit of confusion, do not actually does his duty, the task which is given to him properly. One artillery shell is of actually this big. It is difficult to even carry so heavy. One shell is good enough to explode this full area. One shell. And there will be long ditch out here. Imagine the type of synchronization which is required. And if he does make mistake, he will going to kill his own men, his own team. If any one of you do some such thing, it's going to affect your company. That is the time of synchronization. So team is nothing. They have different tasks. You know. If that Gadi was going in that 6-lane track, so the military police is aware that what is the time when we need to release this side of convoy and what is the time when we need to release the convoy which is coming from that side. He is not aware that who is going, how many number of vehicles are going from that area, what is the time, he is only aware about that. But his task is to make sure that track is clear all the time. Engineers, all the area in that, each and every inch of that area is actually infected by mines, IDs. Engineers are the one who are supposed to make sure that the road is clear. So every morning a party will go out on foot, find out if there is an ID or mine laid somewhere, dispose it off so that the convoy can leave. If they don't do it, casualties. It is not, again I am telling you, it is not the matter of losing a product or some market there. It's a matter of life and death. That is the type of. So that's the reason the ingredients of this team is faith. And I would rather say a blind faith. Blind faith of that nature that if I have given something to you, I will never bother about that. It's being done. Considered done. If I give any task, if the artillery has been given the task of clearing that area by 1655 hours, he will not cross even a single second. 56, infantry will walk in and take charge of that area. That's the type of trust they carry, dependability on each other. Let me tell you again, none of them might have ever met with each other and may ever meet in their life. But this is the type of collaboration they carry among each other. And there's one leader among them. When we are planning out, strategizing, whatever information is coming to the strategy team at Army headquarters, they are only planning depending upon that meager information available with them. But on that information, the further orders which have been passed are being strictly followed. Till the time the planning stage is there, we discuss it out. Because every representative is there. Each vertical representative would be sitting there and they will give the ground realities. Okay, sir, if I bombard actually from this area, it may going to create this much of trouble. Okay, right? Let's change. Plan B, Plan C. There are 3 plans which are available all the time there. And all those plans are maneuver up to some extent. Okay, these 5 things are rigid. Because if you need to conquer, point something, you can't have flexibility of chalo isko chhod do koi dusra le lete hain. It's not like that. Right? That is fixed. But in case after going on ground, you find that, oh, as per my info, I thought there are 5 men in that bunker with 1 mortar and 2 LMGs. But now I'm realizing that there are 5 MMGs, even heavier gun than LMGs, and there are 10 men sitting. So perhaps I need to add up little more or maybe skirt a little from the other side. That flexibility is there. So, this is the way we actually won Kargil. Anybody, anything which is coming to his mind may interrupt me then and there, please. The story is very interesting, I guess, but any discussion may be carried out anytime. Okay, house is open, please.
Sir, I have a
Please.
question.
I think there was one point you mentioned, it was a forced constraint because of UN rules that you could not take the position from the rear.
Right.
Now, given this situation, which is more about moral situation at this time, you have to save your colleagues. Could you have broken that rule in the fair interest of morality there, and taken it from there and saved your colleagues in those situations?
No, sir. Because, let me give you one example. There was a unit which was coming, out of that insurgency area. 3 years tenure. Actually, perhaps, I think they were coming from Siachen. So they were coming from Siachen down, and Siachen is a very, inhospitable terrain. You can't even breathe there properly. So they were coming down from that area. When they were down, they were supposed to actually go to some peace area for some time actually to recoup, re-energize. The orders came from the local brigade commander to the CO. He said, this is the situation, your team is required to move to Kargil. I told you, 1:9 ratio. अगर एक पलटन वहाँ पे, अगर एक बंदा वहाँ पे दुश्मन का है, तो उसको, हटाने के लिए वहाँ से, in mountains you need 9 people. That's the ratio. Right? Because sitting up there, he can control even the full Pulton with 1 mmg. Tuck, 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 tuck. He'll just keep firing, nobody will be able to come up. So in that situation, the task was very difficult to repump so much of units in that area so that we can take control of that area. It was very difficult to move somebody who is sitting in south to that area because time was at premium. No choice. No options, so no confusions. CO said to brigade commander, he said, sir, I need 5-6 days at least, let my team rest at least. You know where they are coming from. He asked him again, do you wish to go to Kargil or not? He, in the same, emotional manner like you asked me question, said, sir, please allow me few days, 2-3 days. He said, who is your 2IC? You are relieved. Let your 2IC take charge. That Pulton went there and they were very highly involved in that area to take control of that area. It is not, there is no option, sir. The time is at premium. That is the difference between, in a scenario of a corporate world or in a war scenario. Okay. God forbidding, you are going back from here to your house. God bless you, your health, nothing should happen. By chance, if you meet with an accident, right? You gives a call to somebody and the other person says, oh my God, I am in actually urgent meeting. Can you please wait there for 2 hours? Let me come to you after finishing my meeting. Is it possible? Tell me, sir.
We should rush immediately.
You need to prioritize your things. What is important? Your rest. Let me tell you another thing. It will come further ahead also. This body, the human being which is the erstwhile era when the human being was living in jungles. Is there any difference between the production house? Am I body different than that person's? Is there any difference, sir? Why he was able to outrun animals and not me? Can you think over that? Over a period of time, we have diluted our mental and physical strength so much that today we think, oh my God, if I have to go from here to the market, I should have a car, that to AC. Isn't it? Because options. But if you don't have any options, you will not have any confusion in your mind. Have I made myself clear, sir? The answer is being anything?
I think I would say yes. One is that there were no options.
Sir?
And there was one specific, I think you mentioned that UN rules does not allow you to break
Yes.
something.
Yes,
So
yes.
you cannot break that rule. basically.
Okay, I'll tell you what exactly is that. There is one thing international border. There is one thing line of control. What is the difference between that? International border is the area which is being demarcated and well known by everyone. Okay, this is the line. For example, the Wagah border, have you ever visited there?
Yes.
That's the international border. So, if you cross that line, that means war is being declared. But 720 kilometers of line of control, all through running J&K up till the other side, is a line of control. Why it is line of control? Because till now we have not accepted it as the line demarcated between us and our neighbors. Now what is the difference there? In line of control, you can, you move up, okay, this is my area. You push me back, okay, this is your area. That keeps happening. But then there is a sort of a treaty which you sign. Okay, I will not cross my line. You don't cross your line, I don't cross my line. That's why off and on you must have read, again this was broken, they did firing on that side, some infiltration from the neighboring country. That is precisely the reason. They can keep moving. Now, when you see from the perspective of a country who is going to take a seat in UN, a permanent seat, he can't fiddle around with any of such a small issue also. Right? Had it be Israel, they would have done in and out 5 days. Right? That's the difference.
Thank you.
Okay. So, we were talking about team. That is how the team effort actually made it possible to win in spite of losing their buddies, their brothers, their fathers. But only one aim, the goal was to win, to not allow the enemy to stay in my territory. That was the aim. When I joined my unit back, and my post was on the line of control itself. And the difference between my post and the Paki post was 80 meters. So before the war, we in fact used to interact also, under the cover, not directly, under the cover. Because they are also human beings. Nobody wishes to fight actually. It's being actually thopod. If you ask somebody who's from my neighboring country, कि तुम लड़ना चाहते हो, तो he'll say no. I have my family to look after. But when it is being done, when it is being thrusted, when the situation is there, then my family is this. I will not bother about my kids and my son and my parents or my brother, sister or anyone else. So I was there on that post, and when the war started, before the war, I was, solidifying my area. This post was actually, have you seen the bunkers I just shown you? All those bunkers were man-made, not constructed, well-built like this to fortifying, okay, the wall strength should be so much. Engineers do that. In the international border area, the engineer bunkers are being made in such fashion. But line of control, because it's very dynamic, keep fluctuating, sometimes it is there or not there, you need to keep fortifying your local post in the way, it is possible by all means. So वहाँ पर तो मेरे पास, we never used to get food. It was a tinned ration. On the lighter side, I was a vegetarian earlier. So when on that post, the vegetables used to come all, rotten. Chicken fowl used to come live. And that chicken fowl actually was like, 80 years old type. He used to walk like that. So, looking at that, I used to feel, okay, if I, chop him off, so it will be something not a bad thing or something. It will perhaps I will give him a breathe. Right. So that's how I started having non-veg also. Anyway, that's on the lighter side. On that post, I was with my 1 JCO and 20 men. And during daytime, there was no movement. There was a river behind my post where big stones, we used to carry stones from that river to fortifying our area. I had made rooms with that stones. So I know how to make rooms. Construction काम कर सकता हूँ मैं. So I made my team work during night so much that one person, and it was not forced, that one person, 15 year service, very senior Havaldar. By the time, 15 years, Havaldar get retired actually. So he came to me, he walked up to me, and I was a young soldier, young officer. He said, "Saab, 15 साल की नौकरी में किसी ने इतना काम नहीं कराया जितना आपने पिछले 15 दिन में करा दिया मुझसे. Last 15 years, nobody could actually made me do so much of work which you made me do in last 15 days." That was his compliment to me. Not that he was angry with me. This was the team association with each other. Though I was an officer and they were men, but that's how we used to live. And that is where my team helped me, because on the day of 15th of July early morning, when after 2 days gap, lull in the war, the firing started again. First shell which came all over me, and I could make out, okay, it's not made for me, it's going to go away. Because when you are in that situation, you can actually make out from the noise which a shell make, right? Okay, तो पीछे गिरेगा बहुत. But by the time I could realize the shell which is actually, or the goalie which is being made for you, it does not make any noise. So that next shell was hardly 1.5 meters away. And that was a mortar shell, and the killing area of a mortar shell is 8 meters dia. Anybody who is falling in the 8 meter dia will not survive. Those shells are made in such a way. So I could just lie down. That was my reaction. I could just lie down. All splinters came toward this side of my body. I don't know how many, shell particles, sharpness, all pierced through from my right hand side, cutting my, you see the calf, hair, all piche, back, ribs. There are around 40 odd splinters still inside my body.